Hey, yo, what's up? What's going on? What's good, everybody? That's right, the Boxing Source checking in. This is the Midweek Report, June 28th, 2023, the Midweek Report here on the Boxing Source YouTube channel. Of course, we have our weekly podcast, usually scheduled for Sundays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we have the Midweek Report here on the YouTube channel. We're going to be, like I said, want to try to get as many of these joints as possible. You know what I'm saying? I want to get on as far as like talking about as many topics within the sport of boxing as possible. Also mixing in interviews and things like that too. So what I'll be doing is I'll have a couple of interviews up on the YouTube channel. We had it on the Instagram page last week. We had an interview there, and we had one again this week here. So that was on the Instagram page, and we want to get a little bit more of those interviews in on the Instagram page, and then post them here on YouTube, and then have the podcast here on YouTube. But getting on in with the midweek report, man. We want to talk about this whole thing here with Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz Jr. Man, I'm telling you, man, like this joint here, to be honest, man, I mean, I've been waiting for this fight to happen pretty much since March. I thought this fight would, take place in, around May or something like that. And this is one thing that I kind of like say is one of the higher profile fights in the heavyweight division. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Deontay Wilder, former WBC heavyweight champion of the world. You got Andy Ruiz Jr., former unified heavyweight champion of the world. These are two of the probably around the top 5 fighters in the heavyweight division. We know that months back, the WBC had ordered this fight as an eliminator bout, so you could have had, the winner of this bout be the top contender for the WBC heavyweight championship currently held by Tyson Fury, right? And, some people may say, hey, you got Deontay Wilder, you got Andy Ruiz Jr., they both fight under the Premier Boxing Champions banner under Heyman Boxing. So, you would think it would be an easy fight to make. But initially, once the first rumblings of this fight came up, there wasn't really much progress going on about it. Andy Ruiz Jr., was talking about, hey, man, I'm a former world champion. Hey, I'm a former world champion. I'm thankful and everything like that. But I'm trying to get back and be champion again. It's like, man, I don't know, man. Hey, shout out to JG Wentworth. What is it? 877 cash now in the building. Call now. Ruiz don't want that smoke. Hey, it looks like I'm telling you, man, it's looking like that, man. Earlier this week, you seen Deontay Wilder, post that video, say, hey, we send the offer out there, to you, Andy Ruiz. Don't let other people influence you on your decision. This is your best chance of cashing or getting that good bread. So you might as well take advantage of this while it's out there, and he, Andy Ruiz Jr., literally looked like he was turning down that offer. You had his father, Andy Ruiz Sr., talking about some stuff, saying, hey, that there's a split and, there wasn't anything that it didn't look good, like it was 30% for Andy Ruiz and 70% for Deontay Wilder. But we'll get into that a little bit more. Shout out to Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, and more in the building. Salute to you. Shout out for your of course your videos. You analyze a lot of the fights of the past. I know you had Tim Witherspoon on your channel the other day. That was a good little discussion y'all had on that channel. Y'all support Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, and more, his channel on YouTube. Back to this thing here with Andy Ruiz Jr., man. I mean, you got Andy Ruiz Sr. talking about this is, too small of a price tag. You was talking about like Deontay Wilder's getting 70% of the purse, and we should, get closer to 50-50. Andy Ruiz Jr. was a former unified champion. He had, three of the belts. He beat Anthony Joshua or whatever it is. But, as I was saying, man, Deontay Wilder's been a long time heavyweight champion. 877 cash now. Didn't know it was a 70-30 deal. Well, according to Deontay Wilder, earlier today it was posted on KO Artist Sports. Shout out to KO Artist Sports. The guy's been, out there covering the sport of boxing. I've seen him in a great number of events, whether it's, here on the East Coast or on the West Coast. I've seen him, many times over. Like every time I pretty much go out to these events, I see him, I say, what's up? Yeah, he does like a lot of good work. He's been doing a lot of good work, man. But when he talked to Deontay Wilder earlier today, the interview is on the KO Artist Sports channel, right? Like Deontay Wilder saying like, hey, I don't know where in the world they had this whole thing about a whole 70-30 type of thing going on or whatnot. Like there wasn't no, discussion about, okay, I'm making this and you're making this or whatever it is. That's what, Deontay Wilder was saying. But thing about it is like, Deontay Wilder made his case. It's like, hey, I've been a world champion for 5 years. I had 10 fights, defended the WBC heavyweight championship, while Andy Ruiz has had those titles for one time, for like 6 months. One time, one fight, that's it. Won the titles and lost them in the next fight. So, he feels like, Deontay Wilder feels like he's a draw. He's the main man. He's the guy. You know what I'm talking about? So he's like, hey, if he feels like he or, Andy Ruiz deserves more money, then, I mean, that ain't looking all too hot. Bruce here saying, Ruiz has had 2 fights in 4 years. Yesterday's home runs don't win today's games. Oh, I like that. I like that quote right there. Yesterday's home runs don't win today's games. Hey, Bruce, you might have to see about finding a copyright for that one. That's a good quote right there. But yeah, I mean, Andy Ruiz has only had, the fight against Chris Arreola in 2021, and then last year against Luis Ortiz, and that's it. And with that being said, you go on the whole thing from a business perspective. Hey, those numbers for those fights, hey, I don't know if they were real hot. I know some people were bringing up, but Deontay Wilder, in his fight against Robert Helenius last year, the Barclays Center, it made 70,000 pay-per-view buys. But how many pay-per-view buys was that Ruiz Ortiz fight thing? Bruce, real quick. Okay. Well, dang. I guess we gotta cite somewhere else for that one, man. Probably gonna have to find it if it's like one of the baseball quotes. Is Ruiz a one-hit wonder? Man, I don't know. And even if he went up against Deontay Wilder, you know what I'm saying, and ended up losing, it would end up getting knocked out. I favor Wilder getting a knockout over Andy Ruiz Jr. I don't know, man. I mean, that's the thing about the heavyweight division is, especially here at this particular juncture where like one fighter has a majority of the belts, another fighter has one belt, and it's pretty much like been like that since 2019 or something like that. 2018, actually longer than that. Because if you think about it, you had, what is it now? It's Fury and Usyk, and then before that it was Wilder and Joshua, and then pretty much like before that it was like Klitschko and Klitschko or something. You know what I'm saying? So we really had only like a couple of people at the very top of the division, and everybody else trying to get themselves in a position to have an opportunity to fight one of those 2 guys. You really haven't had undisputed champ. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. But back to the thing there with Andy Ruiz, man. like you said, 2 fights, since what, 2019. Since that loss to Anthony Joshua in 2019, he's only had 2 fights. That's it. At least, Deontay Wilder, up until that point, of course, before the Ruiz Joshua rematch, he fought Luis Ortiz, got the knockout. Then he had the 2 fights against Tyson Fury, then Robert Helenius. So at least he, has like a little bit more, behind him. You know what I'm saying? And like we said, man, 43 wins, 42 of those wins by way of knockout. Of course, one of the highest knockout percentages in the sport of boxing. They're, going up against Andy Ruiz. So it's like, hey, man, it's like, why not go ahead and make this fight? You really don't have much going on. I know that some people were talking about, potentially having a Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua fight, but a lot of people say, hey, that ain't gonna happen until December. So why not have like a fight, around this time? I say if they would have, locked things up, then maybe you could have had this fight between Wilder and Andy Ruiz Jr. pretty much in August. I say it could have been in August. You got August right there, pretty much around the end of the summer, the 3rd or 4th week of August. You could have had that fight right then and there. That would have been a, high profile fight. You have it right there on pay-per-view. But, now, of course, with what's going on with Canelo Alvarez, he's going to be fighting September 16th, Showtime pay-per-view. Now, where are you going to put this thing on? You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Slap Tendencies in the building. What's good with you? Bruce here says, hey, Ruiz got the bag for the AJ rematch, which is true. He's done nothing to earn that 50-50 split. He's the Buster Douglas of this generation. Ooh. Hey, that's what you mean when it says like a one-hit wonder. You score an upset victory over who was considered probably the top guy in the heavyweight division, and then in the next fight you end up losing, and you haven't really done that much since. You have a fight against Chris Arreola. Of course, Chris, is in the back half or the back 9 of his professional career, and then you face Luis Ortiz, who already had the 2 losses to Deontay Wilder by then. But at least he was coming off the win against Charles Martin, where as some people say, he knocked the sonic rings out of Charles Martin at that time. But it is what it is. But here, I mean, it's like people don't know where Andy Ruiz is at this particular juncture of his career. And they, in a potential fight against Deontay Wilder, people highly favored Deontay Wilder to get that win. Slap Tendency says, hey, with no belts on the line, a split of sorts of a 70-30 makes no sense. Yeah, I mean, in a way, yeah. But for me, it's more of like a whole business thing. It's like, who's the name? Who is the fighter that like really brings the butts to the seats or the eyes to the television or whatnot? And for me, it's Deontay Wilder, without question. And the thing about it is that, hey, if I don't know if I'll see if I can look it up or whatnot, but I did talk about the numbers for Deontay Wilder's fight against Robert Helenius, but I don't know what the numbers were for Andy Ruiz, Luis Ortiz. They say it's around I see something about like 65. It's like around from as low as 40,000 to 65,000. That's what it's looking like. While Wilder Helenius is around like 75K. So maybe that would be a factor in it, but I'll see that. Yeah, like Wilder outsells Andy any day. But like, I don't know as far as like what the overall price would be, so to speak, for this type of fight. I don't know if it's let's say Deontay Wilder wants like what I would say, like $5 million for this fight. What would Andy Ruiz like go for? Would he go for like 3 million? Would it be more than that? I'm not sure, So we'll see. I'm undecided on that as to what the actual numbers would be, but like I said, I mean, I'm going off of what Deontay Wilder had said while he was on KO Artist Sports. Like I said, shout out to KO Artist Sports for having an interview there with Deontay Wilder, and of course you had the comments that were made there by Andy Ruiz Jr. and Andy Ruiz Sr. So I say like, hey man, we know like with what these guys have kind of earned in their previous fights, how that is a factor in a fight of this magnitude. Like if I could look it up or whatever it is, I could say, hey, Andy Ruiz got this much money or guarantee for a fight. Like for example, they said like reports outlet Andy Ruiz got like a guarantee of $1 million in his fight against Luis Ortiz, right? That was last year. But you could compare that to like Deontay Wilder and his purse against Robert Helenius. That's probably like a completely different joint. You know what I'm saying? Where hey, maybe Wilder got like a good amount more. Some of the stuff that I'm seeing out here for the guarantee for Deontay Wilder for that fight, yeah, I'm not all too sure about that. But maybe this guest here will give me more insight on it. Of course, he is the host of War Week Radio Network. Brother Joseph Parent. What's going on, Joseph?
Oh, JR, man, I love your midweek report, man. And I'm glad you're talking about this because this is becoming an epidemic within the business of boxing. And we've talked about this all year.
Yeah.
And it's an absolute shame. Now, once again, aside from Anthony Joshua with Jermaine Franklin, not a huge event. Aside from Joe Joyce versus Zhilei Zhang.
Yep.
How many heavyweight big events have been slated this year?
How many heavyweight fight? Shoot, I could take it even a step further, right? How many heavyweight fights have we had that have involved any fighter within the top 10 of the division?
Yeah. Well, I will say this though. Good news. I just found out from your brother Ronnie, and thank God. But it looks like it's his big heavyweight, the Croatian sensation, Filip Hrgović, is going to be competing in the co-main event of Anthony Joshua versus whoever that's going to be, right?
Right.
We have no idea who's going to be fighting right now.
Yeah,
right?
we have no idea. Yeah, we definitely don't.
So once again, you've got Dillian Whyte pricing himself out, right? You've got Andy Ruiz, Big Snickers, pricing himself out, right?
Looks like he did it again. What Bruce
look,
said.
and I told you this was going to happen last year, right? Because you look at these guys, and everyone who's trying to insist to me that Saudi Arabian money, that's great for the sport. Really. Because almost solely, exclusively, their interest lies within the heavyweight division. How are we looking right now?
Yeah, not all too hot.
No. And once again, hopefully we'll get those two big matchups at the end of the year, but that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
and so the while, these guys are holding out and just sitting there, sitting dormant, while the entire rest of the boxing community and the calendar passes them by. Mm-hmm. What happens to a fighter when this takes place, James? They become irrelevant. So how important is it for the health of the sport, for the glamour division to become irrelevant?
Not good at all. It's not good at all. in that almost was like going to be the title of actually this midweek report. I was gonna say instead of is Andy Ruiz Jr. pricing himself out of the Deontay Wilder fight, I was gonna say WTF is up with the heavyweight division because
that's about right, guys. That's about right. No, now keep in mind. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah,
my apologies.
This has been almost like like you would have a headache thinking about what fights that could have already taken place. We should have already had this fight that I'm talking about in this main topic. We should have already had a fight for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world.
Yes,
but
sir.
We didn't have either one of those fights yet, right? And like you were mentioning before, outside of Joshua versus Jermaine Franklin and Joe Joyce versus Zhilei Zhang, we really haven't had much action within the top part of the heavyweight division. If I talk about Frank Sanchez Foray, if I talk about Dylan White, if I talk about even Joseph Parker, like nothing out of those guys.
Nothing. Zero. No consequence.
Yeah, so now, I mean, at least we get like a couple of guys that are on the rise, that are on the move in the heavyweight division in separate fights with Jared Anderson and Arslanbek Makhmudov. That'll be fighting on July 1st. But outside of that, you ain't really having much action out there. So it's like, hey, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Hey, shoot, Otto Wallin is pretty much like had one fight, and people didn't even know that he even had the fight. So it's like,
and everyone loves the heavyweights, James, right? And you look at last week's dismal DAZN card. What did everyone say the fight of the night was? They said, look, and there's two names that Teddy Atlas would love to murder right now. Joe Cusimano versus Adam Kovnowski. Like those two names are made for Teddy Atlas to murder, right?
Yep.
Joe Cusimano. That sounds like a Friday Night Fights main event, doesn't it?
That basically is a Friday Night Fights main event.
Yeah, but I tell you what, it was the best night of the evening. Two large behemoths just pounding on each other. And guys, Adam Kovnowski very well should have been knocked into retirement, and I think he finally was.
Yeah.
The only reason why they pulled him,
I thought he should have hung it up after he lost to Ali Demariz at the Barclays.
Mm-hmm. You were there for that one, weren't you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And look, guys. The only reason why they keep on dragging him up off the couch, one, because he's a tough guy who can take some, and that's not going to be for very much longer. And two, with that big Polish, community there.
Yeah.
And he's a huge ticket seller in that area, man. But you know what? It's like, that's it, though. That's what happens, though, guys. And once again, Don Chargan warned us all of this. Is like, you know what? This is what happens when you pay out inflated purses. It makes it virtually impossible to put together the best matchups. And this is exactly what we're seeing in the heavyweight division.
And it's a bad situation because this actually came from me even before the thing with Deontay Wilder Fury 3, right?
Oh yeah,
we were thinking like, okay, we already knew what Deontay Wilder made for the second fight and the third fight.
Yep.
And by him losing those two fights, he still had that type of money that he was being paid.
Yep,
so
that's it.
Now it's like, okay, what do you set his value at going up against any of these opponents? And like you've mentioned many times before, it's like, hey, I'm not really getting out of the bed to fight anybody unless this is my minimum.
That's it, and that's the problem.
That's where it goes.
That's the problem, guys. That is the problem across the board. Now we've got Usyk. Well, yeah, he goes and runs to the Saudis skills challenge, right?
Yeah.
And he will, like, honestly, don't be shocked, guys, if he just ditches that WBO title, relinquishes it, and scraps that Polish fight in August. Don't be shocked, because do you really think this guy's going to want to fight for $6 million rock against a big puncher like Daniel Dubois for $6 million rock when he's probably going to be getting upwhere near 40 from the Saudis in December?
Yeah, I mean, I see that. I see that option. But I got to look at something around the news waves again, because it's almost looking like some folks have put out something like, oh, maybe that Fury Usyk thing's not happening, but that's a whole nother story, man. But yeah, it's like these inflated purses are really messing up the heavyweight
destroying
division
any momentum that the heavyweight division had at one time.
Yeah.
Now you look at all of it, and it's such a damn shame, because if you look at all the talent within this version of the heavyweight division, look how many matchups we could be seeing. Now, once again, though, when you pay out guys like Tyson Fury, who just made last 3 fights, well, last 3 or 4 fights, 3 fights consecutively, 2, 3 on Wilder, and then Dillian White. He made almost $100 million in 3 fights. Okay, when you get that much money. Fight. Yep, and he didn't make nearly that much, though. I think he made like 20 odd million. So, but when you get used to receiving those inflated purses, yeah, you don't want to fight for anything less. And it's just not feasible, guys. It's just, so once again, the ESPN and Fox tandem produced event, right? With Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they even though it should have been a commercial success, the promotion for that was absolutely brilliant. And we got 2 great fights, at least one brilliant time capsule classic. Mm-hmm. And it should have been a stark, raving commercial success. Guess what? Everyone involved, except for the fighters and the promoter, lost money. They lost money. Everyone involved lost money, except for the fighters.
Lost big money.
So I'm going to ask you this question, James.
All right.
Who's actually going to start looking out for the investment dollar of the network? Because, guys, no one is in business to lose money.
Nope. And we just had word about, what's happening with one particular network. But before, we get more on here, I wanted to add in another guest, first timer on here with the Boxing Source. Very thankful that he's joining us. That is Bruce Gas. Bruce Gas.
Brother Bruce.
Woo! Good evening. Thank you for having me on here, bro. Nothing like talking boxing and heavyweight boxing. That's what I was raised on, man. And I'm loving the action. I'm hoping something happens. We have so many prospect of great clashes out there, and they're falling apart before my very eyes, man. But hey, what I was saying earlier about Andy Ruiz, bro, if he doesn't just kind of remind me a little bit of Buster Douglas, where he shocked the world, he made the big bucks, and then he just kind of softened out. And Buster Douglas, he softened out to the point of diabetes. But it's like that famous Marvin Hagler saying, it's hard to get up at 5 a.m, 3 a.m. when you're wearing them silk pajamas,
That's it. Look, and like I stated with JR on a previous show, I think it's several months ago, it's like it's different in other entertainment fields, right? You look at A-list actors at one time, Nicolas Cage and Bruce Willis, right? They were at one time able to demand $20 million per picture, right? And then, the market changed. And so they started taking as much as accepting as much as they possibly could, and making as many unwatchable movies as they possibly could, because, just to maintain their lifestyle, and 2, because they still got to do what they absolutely loved. But in prize fighters, like, actors aren't taking punches to the face. It's very different in boxing. Right. And it's very difficult to convince a superstar when his market value diminishes. It's very difficult to convince these guys to put their body through hell just to prepare for this live fight, right? It's very difficult to convince them because they're taking punches to the face. To fight for anything less than what they've grown accustomed to making. They would much rather retire.
Yeah, and they look at some of the fighters of the past, and I meet a lot of these fighters one-on-one, and one thing that tends to be dominant in them is the punch drunk factor. I don't know if we want to call it CTE. Or just forgetfulness, early onset of Alzheimer's. Bro, I mean, it's like an example, and these young guys, they see this and they don't want to go down that route.
Well, it's that's a serious problem, man. That's a serious problem, and not just in boxing. That's a serious problem in football as well.
Oh yeah,
but it's inevitable, guys.
Yep.
The brain wasn't meant to be taking big shots like this consistently for a substantial period of time.
But when you get into boxing, you got to understand, these are not people like me, you, or the Boxing Source. These guys they're more on the Neanderthal animal side. I mean, it's a whole different. It's a killer mentality, bro. I mean, it's a different human being, and apparently a lot of these fighters today, they're just not cut out for that life.
Oh, you can say that again, brother. Ronnie and I were just talking about that. And by the way, JR, well, I can't wait till you rejoin us on Tuesday of next week. We really missed you last night, brother.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I had my interview there with Elijah Pierce on Instagram. That was a very good interview. I'm gonna see about getting that posted here on the YouTube page and everything like that. A real quick shout out to Jamil of YSM Sports Media in the building. In reference to the Fox contract with Premier Boxing Champions, so the boxing there. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, the whole thing about the business of boxing and these guys getting these big purses, it's like you said, man, it's hard to get up and trying to train every day, in silk pajamas, and that's what you pretty much have here. And in this particular instance with Deontay Wilder, Deontay has often brought up the contemplation of retiring, after that, Fury fight, and how he wants to set himself up and, have this plan to just, set up his money and everything like that. And even in his interviews, in this recent interview, like I mentioned with KO Artist Sports, like he says, hey, I got things set up. I could walk away at any time, you know what I'm saying? But, I still want to do this. I still got unfinished business. Pretty much to that extent, right? So, but he also does talk about like how dangerous the sport is, and how a lot of these fighters have succumbed to those head injuries and all the stuff that goes on being in the ring for so long, and that he doesn't want to end up being like that. So it's like, hey, you got one side that says, hey, you want to compete, you want to be a champion again, but another side says, hey, we still got a big risk out there. So, hey, I'm like, he looks like he wants to set up this fight, because I really think that he wants another fight with Tyson Fury. I really feel like.
I will say this. James. If he beats down Anthony Joshua, and that's a huge if, right? If he beats down Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury decisively beats Alexander Usyk, he's going to create that demand for a fourth fight. But unfortunately, the only people who will be able to fund it will be the Saudis, because the fans aren't going to do it. Like, this is where the real bosses of boxing are no longer the real bosses of boxing. And I hate to say that. And I had this discussion on Boxing Gems channel last Saturday. I'm like, guys, you know what? You can bellyache all you want about, Jermall Charlo fighting Canelo Alvarez. But you know what? You can't do a damn thing about it, because no longer are you financially supporting the product. And this is why fighters have resorted to jumping ship and solely fighting in Saudi Arabia, because no diehard fans are specifically financially supporting the product any longer. So when that happens, if it doesn't appeal to a much larger mainstream and casual demographic, well, then they have no choice but to try and go to the only parties that will fund that kind of purse.
Yeah.
And it's a tragedy. And it's terrible for the health of the sport. Because so I can promise you this, 2 fighters who have an inflated sense of worth, and Saudi they're just not interested. And that's Dimitri Bivol and Devin Haney. And you're going to see for the remainder of 2023, they're not going to be able to land a meaningful big money fight because they demand way too much money. And even after all of everything that they've accomplished in this sport, they still couldn't sell out their living room on a Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality, guys. People need to start being reminded. These fighters, as gallant as they are, as heroic as they truly are, and as much as we appreciate it, they need to start understanding the economics of this because it's very unhealthy for the sport if they don't.
And the thing about it is that, you know, a lot of these fighters, when they ask for these high purses, like, I mean, they're talking with these promoters, they're talking with these managers, and they're saying these guarantees. And from a promoter's perspective, you're like, my goodness, like, you're gonna try to make me work how hard in order to try to make this money up, or for a network to say, hey, okay, we're gonna approve this fight, but this is how much that we got to put out in order to try to make the money back. Like, it's crazy in that sense. And, you know, when you were talking about this thing here with the heavyweight division, and, you know, like I said, I was like, yo, what's up with the heavyweight division? You know what I'm saying? But, you know, here in this sense, it's like, at least for me right now, there's only one fight out there in the heavyweight division right now that would gather enough interest for fans, whether they're diehard, whether they're quote unquote casual or whatever, that they would say, oh snap, this is going to be a fight. And that only one that I see that happening is Wilder versus Joshua. Any other matchup, you really don't have that type of interest, right?
Well, so, I will say this. Hey. I will say this, James. And yes, I would agree that is the big one. Okay, but if Deontay Wilder actually is able, or someone is to talk some sense into Andy Ruiz, well, mark my words, that's going to be a freaking fight, dude. That is a great matchup, and that's one that should have already been made. But yeah, once again, you've got two fighters pricing themselves out. PBC really wanted to make that fight. Steven Espinosa wanted that one. Yeah, and once again, also don't discount. Oh, the juggernaut Joe Joyce, although he's up against it. Ooh, that's still a great matchup, man, with Zhilei Zhang. Now, once again, the juggernaut, he's going to take a few lumps in the first 4 or 5 rounds. But if he can keep that eye from ballooning up, look out for him in the mid to late rounds of that fight.
Yeah.
I still really like this fight. Hey, can you do me a huge solid, James?
Yo.
Can you pull up Eat the Riches comment? Please, it's very important, right?
Yep.
And brother, thank you, Captain Crunch. He says, I usually agree with Joe, but isn't it a fighter's job to make the most money they can? Careers are short and painful. Yes, it's the agent's job, more specifically. The manager's job, more specifically. The promoter, he's there just to try and put together the best fights for the network's budget.
Yep.
Now, once again, let's take Top Rank, for instance, right? So the promoter has the daunting task of trying to appease their fighters, their entire roster of fighters, not just one, right? And then they have the daunting task of also trying to appease the network, trying to squeeze in as many matchups or events as they possibly can with that annual allotment, right? So let's take Top Rank, for instance. They get $93 million per annum to stage, let's say, 30 events, right?
Right. Around there,
so that means if they have to pay out someone like Devin Haney $5 million and then paid Lomachenko almost three and a half.
Yeah, 3.
Right? So that cuts into that. That's the only reason why that matchup was on pay-per-view, to try and make back some of what they knew just wasn't going to be there. They understood. And so that's the dilemma. Okay, so who's looking out for the network dollar? Who's looking out for the network investment? Okay? When the fighters, you hear guys like Sean Porter say, hey, you know what? That's not your problem. That's not your problem. Well, whose problem is it then? Okay, this isn't rocket science. What happens to the number of dates available for you guys? They disappear. So I understand that concept, and we all want the fighters to make as much money as they possibly can, but not at the expense of the sport, of the health of the sport. Someone has to start looking out for the positive health of the sport. And right now, guys, it's definitely not the diehard fans.
Yep, it isn't.
So who's going to? Who's going to start looking out for the investment of the network? Now, once again, guys, we all should be concerned with this. They're the ones who provide these precious network dates. Okay? How much money is a fighter going to make without any dates to fight on? Then they resort now to fighting on club level or regional fight cards just based on ticket sales. Then they start getting asked the question, hey, how many tickets can you sell? Can you sell tickets? Okay, then it becomes their problem. So they might want to start thinking about it now. They might want to start adopting it as their problem.
I don't know if they remember, like, some of these guys had to do that at the beginning of their careers, just like some fighters are doing that right now. Like, they had to push out, like, hey, I got this batch of tickets here for this local event, so you could come out and watch me fight, things like that. They might have, 100 to 200 or so allotted tickets, or maybe more, depending on the venue, the size of the venue, and saying, hey, whatever I sell, that goes straight to me. You know what I'm saying? Or, a huge percentage goes to me. But when you have these events that are like on Showtime pay-per-view or ESPN pay-per-view, where, they already have, like, they say, you know what, we gave this amount to the fighters already. So now we got to do the pay-per-view in order to make that up. So like you said, it's pretty much on the network or on the promoters to try to push this fight out there to garner enough interest for them to make that money back. Like, the fighters don't really have to worry about all that,
So guys, here's proof, right? Here's proof. Oh, there's Matt. I see Matt. How you doing, brother Matthew? Come on board, man. If James has time, I would love to hear your opinion.
I think I sent him the link or something. So yeah.
So I tell you,
hold up, I'll get it to him. Hold up, I'll get it to him if he catches. I want him to have his case on how he would say Andy Ruiz.
Yep.
He would say Andy Ruiz is ducking.
Oh boy, come on.
No.
See,
no.
I'm not even there yet, brother. I'm not even buzzed yet, brother. I'm only on my third shot of Jack Daniels, so we'll give you a pass. But what I was saying, though,
might be karaoke night over there.
Oh boy, hey, sing some Taylor Swift for me, brother.
Oh, he'll do that.
But no. What I was gonna say, here's proof positive, guys. This is what, and once again, you talk about the diehard, demographic, right? And Mike Ladarius has the beat. He's got the beat, and dude, his sentiment, exactly what he stated, is exactly what every executive tells me. Every promotional company tells me what they think of the diehard fans right now. They don't even listen to diehard fan sentiment any longer. They don't even give a shit. They're like, look, when they start actually purchasing pay-per-views, maybe then we'll actually give a shit about what they think. But right now, they're not even in the equation. And here's proof of this, right? Look at Haney Lomachenko. That was a diehard matchup. How did it do, James?
And it didn't do
125,000.
Yeah,
125,000 purchases. Yet everyone was screaming robbery. Everyone had an opinion on it. Everyone saw it. No one paid for it. Now you look at in comparison, Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Tank Davis. How'd that do? And what demographic did it appease to?
Wasn't the diehards, buddy.
Yep, that's it. It appeased to a larger casual and mainstream demographic. How did it do?
1.2 million.
1.3. 1.3 is the number that I got from Steven. So that, once again, case closed. So this is your chance, guys. If you want anyone to listen to your belly aching asses any further, you're going to have to purchase Terrence Crawford. This is your last chance, guys. Purchase Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. This is it. This is your last chance. Otherwise, you might as well just watch footage of all the great historic fights that you fell in love with and what made you a boxing fan in the first place, because you're not going to get anything else that you want from this point forward.
Oh, and about those fights that were happening in the past, if you're going to check those out, be sure to check those out on Bruce Guys, Boxing, Jazz, and more. All right?
Hey, Bruce. Hey, brother. I hope you don't mind. Do you mind some company, brother, when SummerSlam comes on? Because I'm not going to watch Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz.
Well, see, I'm a combat veteran. I'm the kind of a guy where if I walk down the street and I see a couple of bums going at it in a fair fight, man, that kind of makes my morning. You know what I'm saying, man? I love combat sports, but the pay-per-view has spikes inflation. I think boxing should step back and take a good long look at it and look at it compared to other sports. It's not exactly the most popular sport in the world. And I think they're gonna. If I had to pay for the fights I want to see, I'd be broke. I'm on a fixed income, which many OGs are, bro. You know, and if I paid for all the fights that I wanted to see, that would pretty much take up most of my Social Security check. And I've been watching boxing now since the mid to late '60s, man. That's 7 generations. And I'm not gonna let the suits tell me that I'm a villain, that I'm a hindrance to boxing because I watch them on the internet, that they're going home and watching porn on and Lord knows what else. And bro, I mean, this is not the world. This is not your father's world, my grandfather's world. This is a whole new generation, the wild, wild west. You walk into a bar room, now they don't even have cigarette machines, but if they did, and one said put $5 in and the other one said pull the level, which one are you going to fucking get your cigarettes from, you know? I mean, if my brother was on a card, I'd stream it and I'd take him out to dinner the next night, bro. I mean, you know, I just think I think it just sets a real bad precedent, and I don't think it should be encouraged. I think it should be discouraged because, like you said, the hardcore fans, they're gonna watch every fight available, and until they come and take me out of here in handcuffs, bro, I'm streaming it. They're giving it to us in 4G. I get very few interruptions. I got 3 screens set up in my living room anyway for my studio. So if one goes down, another one goes on. But bro, I mean, it's either that or I tell the old lady she's not going to the hairdresser this week. And then there'll be the fight of the century in this house that will definitely.
Bruce, something tells me she would whoop your ass, brother.
You
probably would. And you know, today in 1997, this is the day of Vander Holyfield had half of his ear bitten off on Mike Tyson. Yep. And this is a true heavyweight fight, man. This is the fights that sell themselves, dude. Yep. The most the richest heavyweight fight to date because we wanted to see it. Yeah. Both participants, they gave us their all. They had already fought before. We're foaming at the mouth. We're not foaming at the mouth to see Usyk and Tyson Fury.
Wait a minute.
We want to see it.
Wait a minute, Bruce. You're not salivating to see Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. No, you're not.
Well, Joe, I grew up and I saw Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns.
Hold on, Bruce. I'm going to make your case for you, brother. Right, and once again, very compelling, and I'm so happy that you're here to speak. You're the voice of the diehard, long-suffering fight fans who have been expected to pay for every major event for decades. So now we get their point of view, and it's a very valid one. So it's like, wait a minute, this is the only pastime in existence where promoters and networks expect us to pay for every major event. Yep. You don't see this in football. You don't see this in Major League Baseball. You don't see this in NHL. You don't see this in basketball. So what the hell? And we've been gouged by promoters and networks for decades. So now that we have the opportunity to stream this shit in HD, guess what? We're going to do it, damn it, because you owe us. And I tell you what, Bruce, that's a very compelling argument, and no one can blame you.
And Bruce brought up something else
their guys lies the dilemma within the business. There is no solution for it at this time. Now, keep in mind, one thing that and this is going to be exclusive on your channel, sir. One thing, I've drafted up a formal proposal for a lot of parties involved that are going to be left unnamed. And we've been bouncing around this idea. Okay. What do you think about this, James? To try and entice diehard fans to possibly get interested in purchasing this stuff again. Because once again, I've been talking to a lot of people and I've been pointing out, look, all these YouTube channels, they love to have fight watch parties and it's become huge, right? Since COVID, especially.
Right.
And I said, you know what? And you look at MLB, like I subscribe to the MLB extra innings package because my favorite team, the first place Cincinnati Reds in the NL Central, I'm in San Antonio, baby. I can't get any games because it's out of my area. So I have no choice but to purchase this, right? And they give me the option on the extra innings package. Do I want Baltimore Orioles coverage or do I want Cincinnati Reds coverage? And I'm like, hell yes, I want Cincinnati Reds coverage. I don't want to listen to someone rooting for the Orioles, man, while I'm rooting for the Reds. And I introduced this idea to several people, and they think it has some legs. James, should this pay-per-view for Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr., should it have Team Spence, Team Crawford, biased Homer coverage? Don't be shocked, guys, if this is for the very first time in boxing, they get the option of choosing and paying for Homer or Team Spence coverage, Team Crawford coverage, and having very pro fighter individual coverage. What are your thoughts on that, James? And could it be a solution for getting the diehard fan base involved again?
So real quick on that. So you mean to tell me that Showtime will hire Tim Bradley to commentate for this fight?
Woo! He deserves that. He deserves that. No. One of the stipulations is that I get to, well, one of the as a finder's fee, like I would have to get one of the commentary positions.
Yeah.
Right. So once again, I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers, I'm praying that I get that assignment. Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah, so for the very first time in boxing, the Terrence Crawford fans, Bud Crawford fans might get the opportunity to click on that stream. And the only catalyst would be, okay, you'd have to purchase it through the streaming app or directly to the website.
Right.
So if you click on that remote control and just get it live through the cable and satellite distribution method, then you would get your vanilla Mauro Ranallo, Al Bernstein. This is a very important punch. Pay attention to this. Yeah, you'd get that, right? But if you want Homer coverage, which would feature also some exclusive featurettes on your favorite fighter, then that's what it would be. And it would be completely biased coverage and completely slanted call in favor of your fighter, right?
So you might get Bernie the boxer in favor of Terrence.
No. We'd have to get someone a little more literate, right?
Blue
I just say that on the air? I'm sorry.
The blue blood.
No. See, you'd have to get someone. So blue blood. You'd have to get someone without the personality of a stick, right? Someone who actually understands the position and can do this job, right?
Hold on.
Yeah, Terrence Crawford just landed left hook. Yeah, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Right?
You need somebody like
Bruce, what do you think of that idea? Do you think that might actually entice diehard fans to press that button and spend their hard-earned coin.
I don't know, Joseph. You know, the being in the demographics, I think the way that they're staging fights now, they're coming on so late at night that they're really shutting off the 60+ generation. You know, I have the fortitude to stay up, but I don't have the fortitude to have a bunch of people over my house and have a party that's going to last till 1:30.
You know what, brother? I'm at that age as well where I just can't tolerate being around a bunch of loudmouth hooligans for longer than 30 minutes at a time, and especially at my house.
The reality is, bro, the reality is the internet is undefeated, bro. You're not gonna out finance the internet. So I think they have to rely on live events, maybe local establishments having a huge event, maybe having some celebrities there and showing the fight there. But conventionally, pay-per-view, that's dead, brother, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you know what? I thought, you know what? It's oh boy, it's deader than dead. Unfortunately, though, it's the only additional supplemental, or I should say, it's the only method of supplemental income for these events.
Well,
like look here, Bruce, the only other option is getting these damn fighters' purses to within reason, and these fighters aren't going to go for that.
Well, see, there was something called Dumont TV back in the 60s, and you had to have a special box installed in your house and a special antenna, and that's how they had like the Floyd Patterson and George Savallo fights and fights like that. And it worked out, but technology right now is overwhelming. It's going to have to be a whole new format. You're not going to beat the internet. Get that through your heads.
You can't really beat that. Like even the whole thing of having that paywall is just really hindering the sport. You know, like Joseph said, when you got NFL, MLB, NBA, even like NHL, where it's pretty much distributed through broadcast networks or whatever it is. So you wouldn't really need like no type of streaming things or whatnot to, have access to watching those, games or anything like that. With these fights, you're gonna have to do something. Either like have it through some type of premium cable and Showtime or whatever it is, or even with like ESPN, you might have ESPN Plus for some of these other events.
Yep.
Or with the Zone, but as Slight Tendency says, hey, who doesn't love paying the monthly fee for pay-per-view for any boxer ranked in the top 50? Yeah, I mean that's the thing that's going on right now with the Zone.
Oh, Jingle. Yet Eddie Hearn insists that this is a good thing.
Just only 2 promotional markets under the Zone for now. They have something coming up.
That's going to change, brother.
So, and that's I had one of those fighters that will be fighting next month under the Zone. Should be Friday. Was August 4th? There's Elijah Pierce. There will have a pretty significant fight coming up. It's going to be in Atlanta too. So.
Who's the promoter on that? Who's the promoter on that, James?
Overtime Boxing.
Outstanding.
Yeah, Overtime Boxing. So that's going to be their first event. They're under that Overtime Boxing banner. They're going to be doing a total of 4 events over the summer months. Looks like you're going to also have who is it? It's supposed to have like someone in there from Baltimore too. Lorenzo Truck Simpson will be on one of those other cards as well. So they're doing some things there on that. But yeah, back on the thing there, like I said, from the business tip and the paywalls, it's just overwhelming there. Like Bruce, Bruce and Joe, y'all came up in the days of ABC, Wild World of Sports.
That's right. And not just pro fights, Bruce. You knew exactly who was going to be the next stars in boxing because they regularly televised the amateur shows.
Yep.
We knew that Sweet Pea Purnell Whitaker was going to be a badass. We knew Oscar De La Hoya was going to be a badass. We knew Evander Holyfield was going to be a badass. Come on now.
Yeah, and these were, we saw the Olympics happen. We saw these guys blossom in the Olympics.
Right.
That's it. We knew Mark Breland was going to be a badass.
And you know what actually financed all that, which they don't really look at now, is freaking sponsorship.
No, they do, Bruce.
Yeah, but we had multi-billion-dollar products that everybody's using right now.
That's the problem.
Bet.com.
That's the problem, Bruce. That's the problem.
Rolex was sponsoring boxing for a while.
Of course. And in this era of liberal society in America, guess what? Boxing is considered way too barbaric of a sport.
Exactly.
But for the bloodthirsty ghoul of a fight fan, boxing isn't bloodthirsty enough. That's why they turned to UFC. So sponsorship dollars, why do you think PBC failed on free TV? Because they couldn't garner enough sponsorship to pay for those expensive time buys.
Yep.
So that's always been a huge concern for everyone involved. Networks, promoters, everybody.
Yep.
That's the first thing that they think of.
And that's why, YSM had brought up the thing there about Fox with the PBC thing. They didn't renew the contract like that. Wilder Helenius joint.
Well, that's why they insisted on every single event last year being on pay-per-view.
Bro, they have to make boxing cool again. They have to make boxing desirable, bro. Boxing it's very, very secular, bro. We're a niche sport.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still
when we had the 76 Olympics, bro. Listen to this. There was not one. There was one world champion from the United States, and that was Muhammad Ali. Boxing is an international sport, but we built world champions. We made them from grassroots. The whole country was involved. It's just not happening anymore, bro.
That's right. That's right. And it's the promoter's fault. It's the promoter's fault. They took it off mainstream free TV, and they decided to go for the bigger money and put it in these sterile casinos, right? And also to put it on pay-per-view.
Limited to Saturday.
So Bob Arum, main events, Don King. If you want to point the finger at who killed boxing and took it out of mainstream USA, those are the three guys to thank. That's it.
And who said boxing has to be held on a Saturday night? I can remember awesome fights that were held on Monday nights, Thursday nights.
Do you know why? Do you know why? You know why? So this is the reason why it was. Like I'll tell you. This is something. It's going to be coming out later this year, and this is part of the memoir from Don Chargan. I've been working on this for the past half decade, and he told me. He said, you know what? You couldn't just go down to Ticketmaster back in the day in the 50s and the 60s because it didn't exist.
Nope.
So a huge part of the business was, and he said, look, my office was in my business partner, Jimmy Dundee, his ringside bar in Sacramento. It was the biggest hotspot in town. And so we sold tickets for all of our events, right? For all of our boxing events, we sold it through a chain, a network of bars and restaurants, with the centralized hub being at the ringside bar. And so you don't dare bite the hand that feeds you. What are the biggest nights for hospitality? Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
So no fights were scheduled on Friday and Saturday. They were all scheduled on either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday for that reason. Did you know that?
No, I didn't, but it makes a lot of sense.
And there it is. That's why traditionally Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday were always huge fight nights.
They were dead nights in the bar. They were dead nights.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
And man, why do the powers that be not just open the books and look and see what happened back then and see how boxing flourished and see how everybody had two chickens in the pot and everybody had a brand new car.
Yeah.
Yep. They got greedy. Bruce. And once again, when you look at, do you remember a time, Bruce? Do you remember? I remember this vividly. Like, and my dad did. God rest his soul. He's the one who introduced me to the sport and taught me most of this. And once again, you look at traditionally, do you remember a time when MLB and boxing were going neck and neck for the biggest pastimes in America.
Hmm.
NFL didn't even come close at the time.
Oh yeah, NFL wasn't even around that stratosphere back
It
then.
was baseball and boxing.
Yep.
That was it. That's what captured the imagination of every sports fan in America. Now look at boxing now. This is what we did to it.
Hey, but you may have had a point when you said the thing with those three promoters, how they switched things up and brought it out of what it was traditionally to kind of like making it almost too big for what it is. You know what I'm saying? And now you have these days here where the fights are on Fridays and Saturdays and that type of thing, where now Fridays and Saturdays, even back then, like you said, Fridays and Saturdays were the days where, you know, people hit the bars and everything like that. So you weren't really gonna have that type of interest in boxing, you know.
That's right.
But now
that's right.
It's like they tried to combine those two, which may help, but I think it also hurts too, because especially around my generation and the generation younger, you're not going to sit around and watch a fight if you know that you got a whole lot of other things that you could be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll give you this example here, recent example. Tank Davis versus Hector Luis Garcia, right here in the DC area, right? Of course, you're gonna have a whole lot of our people in the DC area coming through to support with Devontae Tank Davis. But when you have a fight where the main event doesn't start until like 1 a.m., we got a problem. So
how rowdy was that event there, brother? How rowdy was that event there, brother?
It was pretty rowdy, but I thought it would have been. It could have been a little bit worse than it actually was. But hey, it still had it. But hey, at least they kind of looked at that particular event and they made the adjustment for Tank versus Ryan Garcia, and they started the pay-per-view event at the time that they did, which was really good on their part. Because
look, Bruce, I don't know about you, brother. I don't know about you. Now, maybe this might not be as good at our age, right? But I used to love it when fight cards used to go deep into the night. Because it's always been kind of a red light kind of sport.
Yeah, like one of those like how they did HBO boxing after dark. Yeah,
that's right. I love those. I actually love those. Going and seeing those at the bars, and I love those.
The difference now is the quality of the undercards. When we had those undercards, we didn't mind it. It would just be, we'd be anticipating it. Whoa, look what a great fight this is. And then there'd be a USBA heavyweight championship on there, number one contender.
And it meant something. And it meant something.
Back to back. And the promoters, they would cooperate with each other on these big fights because they realized a third of the pizza pie is better than no piece of the pizza pie at all. And there was plenty to go around. But it's foreign today. Everybody's got their own promotional and
everybody got their own promotional. You got people beefing with each other.
I'm an alien in boxing today, bro. It's like I'm right off the spaceship. If I go tell some of these cats, some of the OGs who have no clue what's going on in boxing today, who could tell you every champion in the 80s from the fucking flyweights up to the heavyweights, but now they don't watch it, and I go tell them what's going on, and they look at me like I'm crazy. And that's all they're fighting. 2 fights in 4 years, and the guy wants $20 million. That was the big thing this morning. And I'm like, and they're like, you watch this? I watch it every day, and when I'm not watching it, I'm talking about it. And,
hey, Bruce, let me give you and once again to support exactly what you're saying, guys. This was on Wide World of Sports, right? This was in 1979, free TV, Caesar Palace, Las Vegas, Nevada, during the day. Okay?
We're getting the quality now.
Hold on. Listen to this. To support your exactly what you're saying. Okay? This was the prelim. Very first bout on the televised card. Jimmy Young versus Michael Dokes.
Well, I remember the card.
Okay, the next one. Roberto Duran versus Zeferino Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next bout, Ray Leonard versus Andy Price.
Andy the
The
Hawk
co-main
Price.
event of the evening. Wilfredo Bazooka Gomez versus Carlos Mendoza. Right? The main event of the evening, Larry Holmes versus Ernie Shavers. That was the televised card for free, guys.
On Friday, September 28th, 1979.
That's it. Like that was the norm, guys.
Mm-hmm.
That was the norm, and that was free.
Yeah, but we just don't get the quality of the undercards that we were getting back then. Now it's who knows, man. Who knows?
Well, and, now these entitled bitches, they demand all of the money. So how much money does that leave for the prelims?
Nothing.
Drips and drabs, brother. Drips and drabs.
Like,
that's what boxing's become.
And I know, we're talking about this thing here with Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz Jr., which hasn't necessarily been signed yet. But, you talk about this thing here with the undercards, and you got Spence versus Crawford coming up July 29th. I'm kind of a little bit surprised at the undercard with some of the people or some of the fighters that they have on there.
I love it, actually, for what they have.
Yeah,
with the main event taking all of the money. I actually love the matchmaking from Tom Brown.
Yeah.
And once again, guys, this once again supports and proves that he is one of the best matchmakers of the past 20 years.
Like I love the Jesus Ramos Sergio Garcia fight. I love that.
Yes, man, that's a great fight.
Love that.
That is a great fight.
I think that by far that's gonna be, the best fight of the night outside of the main event. So I mean, that's
a great fight. And once again, it didn't cost that much.
Yeah, didn't.
It just takes crafty matchmaking, and it takes, once again, informing and educating the fans. That's it. Yeah. Promoters have to start beating their feet like they used to. Mm-hmm. Like, say what you want about Don King, Bruce. He cared about the fans. He cared about putting asses in seats. He cared about putting on a quality product for the fans. You cannot refute that.
He knew if he did that, the money was going to come. And that it was all about the money, but he didn't mind. He was a flesh peddler. Like my brother Jim was saying a little bit ago. I talked to Tim Witherspoon last night, and he was telling me some Don King stories.
Oh, geez.
Jesus, right? Some of those Ohio camp stories where the fighters weren't getting paid, and they all got their guns together and they marched to Don King's house. And oh man,
I've heard that story.
It was truly the Wild Wild West back then, man. And it's different today. Boxing it's civilized. Like Rocky said, that was the worst thing that could happen to it. These guys would rather be businessmen than boxers.
Well, look. The only difference now than back then, because a lot of the tactics that promoters use today, they were made up by the mob back in the 50s. Okay, the only difference is rather than using muscle, they use a pen and they use the judicial system. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's the only difference, right? But going back to James, going back to the quandary of the current heavyweight division. Mm-hmm. Look, the only solution is put these entitled bitches on the shelf and start anew. That's the only solution, guys, because Saudi Arabia is no solution. It's a hindrance to the health of the sport. That is a fact, guys. And if you don't think so, look at the heavyweight division schedule right now.
I mean, y'all could go to, the website, theboxingsource.net. That's right, theboxingsource.net, and you can hit the rankings. You can hit the rankings link and look at the heavyweight division rankings out there, and you could see all of these fighters that are, listed on the rankings. And I'm sure that a number of you are familiar with a good amount of the names on there. But when you don't have any of these guys fighting, then that it just makes the heavyweight division just look like, it almost
Irrelevant.
Yeah,
Irrelevant.
Irrelevant as when y'all were talking about the Klitschko brothers having all the titles.
So James, you remember the old adage, Bruce? I know you know it. What was the old adage regarding the heavyweight division and the glamour division of boxing?
Oh, as boxing goes, so the heavyweights go, as so goes boxing.
Yep. Guys, let me tell you, that rings true today. Guys, if Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, if they were as active as Canelo Alvarez, guess what? The health of the sport would be much better. Make no mistake about it, guys. The glamour division of boxing, people love knockouts. Bruce, at the elite level. Hold on, Bruce, at the elite level, how frequent do we see knockouts in the welterweight division, junior welterweights, lightweights, middleweights? At the elite level, they very seldom happen. Guys, this is why fans love heavyweights, because at the elite level, you still see knockouts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Very seldom do you see judges. And even when you do, even when you did, right? Let's say Ken Norton versus Larry Holmes.
Oh.
How was that fight, even though it went to a decision? How did that fight go?
That was like one of the
fucking robots. Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah. That was a classic. Could you now once again, Bruce, what's been the only fight that's been reminiscent of that era over the last 10 years in the heavyweight division at that level? You have to say Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. Otherwise,
that was my answer.
Then you'd have to go back to what, Layman Brewster versus Sergey Liakovic? Maybe.
Or no, or maybe they could say to an extent, Vlad Klitschko, Anthony Joshua, but even with that,
Well, I didn't know Ryland Coleman, but
James, could you do me a huge favor, James? Could you do me a huge favor, James? I'm sorry, Bruce. My apologies. Could you put that on, please? Thank you for understanding that I'm a diehard Reds fan, and I was purposely avoiding our closers. So the Reds win. Yes. Thank you, Derby. I appreciate it, sir. Yeah. God bless you, brother. Love you, man.
Yeah, the heavyweight division, man.
Oh, there's nothing like a classic heavyweight fight. I was just saying, man. Ron Weil and George Foreman. We about that. That's the freaking elevator fight. And anybody who didn't get revved up watching that back in the day, or even watching it now, freaking 50 years later, it's just then you might as well forget about boxing as your entertainment.
Or like or what was it? Was it Norton versus Foreman?
Oh, that was a 2-round massacre.
Where
Muhammad Ali was a commentator in that one.
Oh yeah. Oh man, because that's when fights were really fights. The other night it was the Tyson and the Michael Spinks anniversary from 35 years ago from Atlantic City, and the people at ringside. I mean, Jack Nicholson, Ali, Lola Falana. I mean,
it was the who's who.
Everybody was there because that's how popular that's the draw that Mike Tyson had, and Mike Tyson and the undefeated lineal champion Michael Spinks, they sold us that fight. They're not selling fights like that today.
Yeah. But hey, Bruce, going back to one of the other fight that you mentioned, and even though it was like the rematch, it still was Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. But those two guys, from a quote unquote casual perspective, they gravitated like fans to watch them. They had people connected to them that everybody knew, like MC Hammer or like any of those music artists back in the day that like said, hey, I mean, these are the guys that we hang around with on the regular. So it's like if you knew that these superstars or celebrities were going to be interested in that fight, then you wanted to go ahead and see that fight, whether you're going to be in attendance in that arena or you were going to be watching that pay-per-view. And you knew that even, what was that? That was around, 96 or 95 or something like that? Like, was I around I was like, 14, 15 years old, but you...
Don't rub it in, James. Don't rub it in.
But you...
Well, Mike Tyson was... He was a character. We don't have them characters anymore in boxing.
Right.
Nope.
I don't care if you're a ping pong player from Beijing. You know who Mike Tyson was.
Right.
He transcended
Baddest
boxing.
man on the planet. Yep.
Exactly. That's what they need. That's what we need today. I would have loved to seen Big Baby Anderson become that.
Boy.
But see, you have to have a special mind for that. You have to have stones that are all put up in your head.
Speaking of which, Brother James, speaking of which, how did you feel about seeing that one-on-one between Roy Jones Jr. and Big Baby Jared Anderson?
I was just about to mention that. I was like, that was like a heart-to-heart type of thing. And Roy Jones was like,
boy.
Hey, let me tell you, you got to understand. You got to give. Okay? You got to give. And not everybody has this gift. So you got to be able to, utilize the gift and show it to the world. And he's like, and Jared's like, but the pressure is like, listen, I know, but God gave you the ability to handle it.
But I didn't ask for it.
And I didn't ask for it. I'm like,
boy.
Joe, the head trainer for Jared Anderson, was like a good friend of one of my mentors when it comes to like photography and stuff like that. And I talk with him, pretty much like at least once or twice a week. So that I had talked with Coach Derry Riley, especially like a few months ago when I was out there over in Vegas one time. And he's had Jared for a very, very long time, over 17, 18 years, almost going to 20 years. And now it's like, okay, Jared Anderson is right there. He's on the cusp. Everybody has told him, you're the next guy. You're the guy that could be the one to take over the division once all of these other guys are on their way out. And now he's,
bulking.
He's realizing,
bulking, to use an MLB term. He's bulking. Yeah. So once again, if you're Charles Martin getting up off the couch for this assignment, what are you going to do as soon as that first bell rings? You're going to test his heart.
Yeah. And you missed it. I gotta flip what my guy Mike the boxing academic said. He said, Charles Martin got to be balls to the wall. You're gonna have to do everything and use everything up in those first couple of rounds. Like how Jerry Forrest did in that fight in December against Jared Anderson.
Indeed.
So it's like, you got this chance here. You know that you've been a former world champion, former IBF heavyweight champion. You know that this is pretty much going to be your shot because you were just sitting there waiting in the wings for one of these opportunities or whatnot.
Semi-retired.
Semi-retired, because I really felt like, they had Martin out there to be like one of those guys that would face a Jared Anderson or Arslanbek Makhmudov
as a stepping stone.
Right, exactly. So now, once you realize this, it's like, hey,
woo! I tell you what, it makes this Saturday night's main event that much more enticing.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see it.
It does.
And to be honest with you, James, I love it. I love the drama. Bruce, do you miss the featurettes that HBO used to have before every main event? Do you miss those?
Oh yeah, very, very informative. That they would take you right to the fighter's home city or state. Yeah. I mean, they'd get right into it. It was.
Oh, no one did it like HBO, brother.
Yeah, my buddy George Jakovic, he was a producer at HBO, and he did a lot of those. He told me he did the Manny Pacquiao he stayed with them for 7 days in the Philippines. And I mean, it's things like that where, you know, and it was expressed in the HBO special where you were right there with him in the Philippines.
Yep.
You had your finger right in that poi bowl. I mean, it was just professional and cool. But see, today we have YouTube. YouTube is supposed to take over all that. You know,
too much competition, too much media overload.
I hate to say it is what it is, but bro, I mean, you know, you're not going to beat it. We have to have quality programming, and people have to. I mean, you're on the infomercial. You're on a highway.
Well, look. Though, look. I mean, you can't say that you can't beat it, because look at the number of subscribers for Disney Plus and Hulu, right? They're doing just fine. Why can't boxing? Why can't ESPN Plus? Why can't Showtime? Why can't boxing? Okay, they're watching and they're paying for other mediums of entertainment. Why not boxing?
They got to be able to produce a good product on that, you know.
Look, guys, we're look at 2023. To end on a high note, brother, we are getting a great product. We're getting a great product.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue getting a great product this year. This has been one of the best years of the past 20. You could maybe compete with maybe 2 or 3 years within the last 20 years that has been comparable to this. Come on, guys. This is reason to celebrate. This is reason to get up. Reason to get up and herald your beloved boxing.
Hey, it's like you were saying around the time that you got in. You know what? Or like one of the points that was made on the chat there with Mike Litterish, right? But people are complaining about not getting the fights that they were asking for. This year, you've pretty much been getting the fights that you have been asking for.
Yep.
And this is what you have to do. You have to support those fights that you were asking for. We pretty much had.
You're breaking up, my man. You're breaking up, my man.
You got me? You got me?
Yeah,
I can hear you now, sir. I can hear you.
All right. So, I mean, even though I'm going to start off with Plant Benavidez. You got that. Okay.
Great fight.
From a
great matchup.
Overall perspective, you got Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia.
Great event.
You're getting Spence versus Crawford.
Great matchup.
You're getting Stephen Fulton versus Naoya Inoue.
Great matchup.
You're about to get Canelo Alvarez versus Jermall Charlo. Oh, wait. You're
brother.
Getting these fights that people have asked for at least the past 3 to 5 years. And like you were saying, Joe, these promoters and these networks have been saying that they really don't care that much about the fans. But this year, this is where they're saying, hey, we're giving you what you're asking for. Now it's time for y'all to put up, because if y'all don't put up after this, good luck. We ain't doing it no more.
That's it.
Like that, where it's like you ain't getting these type of fights for a very long time, because when we gave it to you, you didn't take advantage and support the product.
That's it. That's it. So guys, step up, guys. I'm sorry, Bruce, as you were, sir.
Yeah, Bruce.
Yeah. I want to know why did they put these cards on against each other? Like Saturday night, the Berlanga Jason Quigley fight was on at the exact same time as the J. Rock Williams and Adames fight.
Look,
what's the point of that?
I'll tell you why. And once again, Showtime, they only have a limited number of dates.
Yeah.
And that's what
What's wrong with
determines
Friday night, Joseph?
Huh? What
was wrong with Friday night? One card could have been a Friday. They could have had the card from Minnesota on a Saturday, and the one from New York City on a Friday night. But in my opinion,
in my opinion, DAZN should have moved their card to Friday. Once again, they're the ones who have the flexibility, right?
Never do.
Not Showtime, though. Showtime is a huge movie premiere night on Friday, right?
Yeah.
So that leaves their flexibility. Like Showtime has less flexibility than a network like DAZN.
So what's a boxing fan do?
So here it is. Then here it is. So
the
the reason why they don't, it's that perception, right? Perception is everything in any entertainment field. What is the biggest night that, once again, over the last 30 years, that's been adopted for big time boxing? Mm-hmm. Saturday night. So anything other than Saturday night deflates the majesty of the event. It's public perception. Once again, that's not you, Bruce. Like you're from a different era. We're talking about a different demographic of fans.
I'm also progressive enough to know that what these promoters have to do is say boxing is back on Thursday nights and have an awesome card, because most people are very flexible in their free time.
Understood, but guess what? It's going to be viewed as a lesser product. Now, here's an example. Hold on. Here's an example, right? Now, who was the voice on Friday Night Fights for the longest time, right?
Al Bernstein, right?
No. Who was the voice, the primary, the lead commentator on Friday Night Fights? Joe Tessitore, right? And it was always perceived to be a lesser product. I talked to fight fans today that insist to me, you know what? Even though it's a big matchup on Saturday night on ESPN, you know what? Because Joe Tessitore is making the call, it just doesn't have a big fight feel. That's the problem. It's perception, brother. It's perception.
Well, running two cards that aren't main event cards, you're splitting what little audience you have in half. One is going to watch the Showtime card. One is going to watch the DAZN card. Most people don't have the luxury that I do to have 3 screens in front of them. So that's boxing, again, man, they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yep, agreed. But do you understand why, though, they make these decisions?
I understand why you say they make these decisions, but I don't understand why they do it financially. They're fucking cutting they're cutting their payday in half at the best, and then they're freaking and then they're alienating boxing fans to choose one or the other.
Yo, real quick, big ups to Jeff, man. G5 Jeff in the building with the contribution to the Boxing Source, man. Yeah, salute to you, my brother, man.
God bless you, Jeff.
Hey, man. Y'all hit up G5 Jeff TV on YouTube as well, man.
Indeed.
But I get where you're going with this, Bruce. But there's only, like Joseph said, there's only like a limited slot available for these, these guys that manage the boxing to put these at these specific time slots. So you can't. Like, for example, I know we're in June, but you get to say, for example, you get to the fall season, right?
They're already booking for the fall season.
Yeah, like they're already booking for the fall season. But the thing about it is, it's like, hey, you can't necessarily have these, these fights on Thursdays. They're going to have games on Thursdays, whether it's NFL or college football. And especially with ESPN, we've seen this over the past few years with Top Rank. They have to wait for the college football, all that college football stuff to get done before they even run their events. So even at that particular point, they're they got to work with what they got to work with. So if they could have moved this thing out to like a Monday or Tuesday, then they would try to go for that, but. They have the research in order to say, hey, what?
That's true.
That's not going to work for us if we're going to move these fights over to like a Tuesday or Wednesday night.
To support your point, now once again, how would it be perceived if a big fight was moved to Monday or Tuesday? How would it be perceived by the mainstream and casual demographic?
It's like how they viewed, you know how years ago, this is directed to you, Joseph. You know how it was like years ago when you had Monday Night Raw, and then eventually you had SmackDown, right?
Yep.
And one of the wrestlers, I think it was Triple H, had viewed SmackDown as like the secondary show.
That's it. It would be viewed as a lesser product.
Yeah.
That's the
like,
problem, guys. Perception. Perception. Look, the entertainment industry is the only realm in real life, right, where perception equals reality.
But really, the WWE convinced you that SmackDown was a lesser product than Raw. I mean, dude, we all know it wasn't. We all know the salaries were the same. There wasn't no division in the talent. They just wanted to saturate more shows and give and have a bigger card and make sure everybody was working. I mean, bro, that's a pretty poor freaking example, to a comparison, because boxing is a whole different beast. Boxing doesn't have a federation. Boxing it's everybody's.
No. He's not talking about that. That's not the appropriate analogy. He's talking about the perception alone.
Yeah, just
that's it.
Well, you look at the fight of the century, Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. What night was that on?
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
Monday night. Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns, a fight that we're comparing to Bud Crawford and Spence. What night of the week was that fight on? That was
educate us further, enlighten us.
Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Thursday night. Salvador Sanchez, Wilfredo Gomez. That was on a Tuesday night. The night didn't matter because the event transcended the night. Right now, these suits are so freaking tuned into it's got to be on a Saturday night. We can't interfere with basketball. We can't interfere with baseball. I mean, it's all bean counters running the sport. The true fan doesn't care what night the fight's on. They made an event on a Monday night. When Frazier fought Ali, the whole world stopped. The Vietnam War fucking had a ceasefire, bro.
Bruce, you're forgetting about one very important aspect of this. The true fight fan are no longer supporting the favorite pastime financially.
Well, that's why I'm an alien. It's a whole different world right now. Boxing is not a blue collar sport anymore. You have to have a second job to pay for these fights you want to watch. And shout out to my friend G5 Jeff out there, man.
Yep. Yeah, shout out to him.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff. There for the contribution, man. But yeah, this is been a real good conversation, reference a business aspect, and kind of like having this thing go full circle and bringing up the history of how the sport and the business of the sport has gotten to this point to where you have these guys, like I said, pricing themselves out or saying that they're worth this much or whatever it is, man. And it's a crazy.
Oh, but hey, James, it's not their problem anymore. It's not their problem. That's not their problem. When does it start being their problem?
Man, like you were saying, I mean, like, if you say that you're worth this much, then what constitutes that you are worth this much? I mean, it's almost like one of the very few professions where they pretty much overprice themselves and they're able to get away with having that being accepted.
So this is what's really muddled up the market, right? Because it used to be very simple. Okay, the real bosses of boxing, they determine what you're worth in this business. Okay, the real bosses, the fans, through pay-per-view sales, closed circuit, ticket sales, and TV ratings. That's not the case anymore, guys. So how much is a fighter's worth? How much is a fighter really worth? What determines that? What Saudi says? What Saudi's willing to pay? What? That's the problem, guys. Fans are no longer financially supporting their beloved boxing, their quote-unquote favorite pastime. So I tell you what, unless you start, you're going to have to just take whatever these promoters and networks determine or decide to give you. But guys, you can change all of that. Once again, you can change all of that. Purchase Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. Purchase it and have a voice once again. Have a strong voice once again. Become the real bosses of boxing once again, damn it. Do it. Now look, once again, it's not until what? An entire month from now?
Yep.
Plan for it. Plan for it. If you can't afford it individually, invite some friends over. Have some people pitch in. Do whatever you can, but make your voices heard. This is your last chance to do it. And that's all I have to say for tonight.
Yeah, you're a hell of a salesman. You're a hell of a salesman, Joseph. I'll tell you, man. If I had a company selling vacuum
I tell you what, Bruce, I always love talking shop with you, brother. And once again, I really look forward to, rather than wasting my time on Jake Paul, Nate Diaz, I really look forward to watching on your channel SummerSlam 2023. Woo!
Hey, man, I had a great time. Joseph, I appreciate being on here with you. James, thank you so much for having me on here. It's good to talk boxing with some reasonable minds who know what's going on, and it's not a fucking scream fest. And this is what I enjoy about YouTube boxing, man. So I appreciate you guys having me on here, man. So peace.
Yeah, not a problem.
And guys, if you haven't already supported and subscribed to Bruce, please go do that right now. Bruce Gas, boxing, jazz, and more.
Yep. Yeah.
There it is.
He has a really, really, really great channel there. Like
great
I said,
boxing historian. Great boxing historian.
He analyzes a lot of the great fights there from yesteryear. So y'all be sure to check that out. If you loved all of those fights, of course, a number of the classic fights that happened in the past there. So there's that. And yeah, that's why I said shout out to the chef when he came in. Yeah, he was quite able to join in on this conversation.
What's up, chef?
Brother Terrell in the building there. Y'all is fun. But I'm gonna bring a close here to this midweek report. Like I said, I mean, we broke down as much as we could reference to like how this whole thing with Andy Ruiz Jr. and Deontay Wilder is just hindering the sport. And like I said, I mean, it's almost a testament to the heavyweight division right now, or at least the top of the heavyweight division, because there ain't no action going on at the top of the heavyweight division right now. And you really gotta. And the thing about it is, like you said, it's supposed to be the glamour division of boxing. As boxing goes, as the heavyweight division goes. Yep. And when you have someone like Deontay Wilder, or you have someone like Andy Ruiz or Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk, like you're supposed to have a number of these fights taking place. But when you have these hefty price tags, and a lot of these promoters or a lot of these networks are like, yo, we can't really afford this type of stuff, man. And that's why you're having a lot of these potential big fights not really happening right now. Hopefully, this is going to sort itself out. Hopefully, Andy Ruiz will, say, hey, you know what? I could go ahead and I could accept these terms. Deontay Wilder will have the money that he'll go ahead and accept, and then you could have this fight take place. It would be like a WBC eliminator of sorts or whatever it is. They're the top two contenders in the World Boxing Council rankings. So it would be like, hey, this is an eliminator to see who's next up for whatever Tyson Fury is going to do. But in the meantime, we just gotta wait and see how that goes. But you know what? And especially when it comes to in the next few days or so, like I said, by Saturday, July 1st, there's going to be a whole lot of boxing events taking place. So
James, hold on, brother. James, I know you want to wrap this up, brother. Please hold on. First of all, James, once again, we really missed you this Tuesday. Please please be a part of this Tuesday night show the upcoming week for the big announcement, right?
Right.
Okay, brother, you better be there. And two, I want you to ask or answer this question as honestly as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when Joe Tessitore makes the call on ESPN in a big fight, does it really feel like a big fight to you?
No, not really. The only time he kind of says that is when, a certain fighter is doing some things. But I mean, come on. It's not like, of course, we ain't going to get like a, random Jim Lampley thing like hard right hand by Pacquiao or something like that. But, at least
but you know what? That's guys.
But,
once again,
I mean,
perception
he's not even
is
at Mauro,
everything.
He's not even at Mauro Ranallo's level, and Mauro Ranallo has like at least a little bit of an elevated type of thing or an exciting type of thing when some great action happens during the fight,
brother. And look.
It's like, you know what? You know what it is?
Look,
Joe Tessitore has the same type of monotone in boxing as he has when he covers college football. That's it.
That's it. Now, whenever I hear Joe Tessitore, I think Friday Night Fights. I think a secondary level. He doesn't sound like the creme de la creme. He doesn't sound like the elite. That's a problem when trying to transcend the product to a much wider demographic.
You know what's crazy?
Yes,
Joe Tessitore, of course, has been part of the ESPN commentary crew for a while.
Of course.
Go back to Wilder Fury 2, okay, where they had a dual thing covering, right?
Yep.
Actually, ESPN had two separate ones, right?
Yep.
Compare the one that they had with Joe Tessitore to the other one they had with ESPN, and then see how they kind of like covered it in comparison.
That's it. Well, if unfortunately now you can only find the call from Mr. Flores, Ray Flores. I think maybe I'm wrong. I'll go look it up tonight. But look. Perception is everything in any entertainment field. Like in the entertainment business, it's the only line of work in which perception quickly becomes reality. And that's a huge problem in the perception of our beloved boxing.
Yeah.
And what's the solution, James? No. Now listen to this. Before you scoff at this, how would you feel about, Al or what's his name? Bob Arum hiring Al Michaels to call these events.
Yeah,
hiring Joe Buck.
No, not Joe Buck. Oh, who's my guy? He's on college football for Fox. Oh, jeez. Oh, I'm gonna figure it out.
Who handles all the big games for NCAA?
I'm gonna figure it out because if I have it here, Gus Johnson. That's the one I'm looking for.
Gus Johnson used to actually be on Showtime, didn't he?
He might have been, but I don't know. But
so here it is. Anyone who's synonymous with Big Game Day would be a shot in the arm to boxing. Guaranteed. That's a huge problem that most networks and promoters have never even thought of. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So something tells me I need to get on the horn with some people. Because I'm sorry, let's just face it, Joe Tessitore is a great quality guy, but he just isn't cutting it, is he?
No, Terrell's tripping. Come on, Terrell. Don't do that.
Oh, jeez. Dude, he makes Al Bernstein look like Bobby Chaz. Let's face it. Come on now.
Oh, come on, Terrell. Oh my gosh, yeah, but like
Chris Mannix, that ham and egger.
Gus Johnson or oh my goodness, I can't even.
No. Get Al Michaels.
Yeah, Al Michaels. Al
Michaels is synonymous with the big call, right?
Yeah, with big call. But
do you believe in miracles? Yes.
But
Al Michaels. Come on now.
Al Michaels, yeah, but he's kind of
Hey! You want to spend some money? You want to spend some money?
I mean,
how about no? Listen to this. Listen to this. What do you say about this? Morgan Freeman calling the fights, right? Now think about this. Think about this. Either get busy fighting or get busy losing. That's damn right. Yep, dude, get Morgan Freeman. Yeah. Come on now.
You could have Marv Albert on there or Kevin Harlan. You know what I'm saying? Vegas Bound ranks the current announcers out there. He has Mauro Ranallo number 1, Adam Smith number 2, Jim Lampley number 3.
Chingao, brother. Look. Look. Oh, jeez. Look, honestly, dude, I would settle for hearing Joe Buck call the nod. I would settle for Joe Buck right now. Really. Look, yeah. And Bruce has the beat. Dig up Howard Cosell, damn it. It's amazing when you go back and listen to Howard, because he's a former journalist and he's a former AM radio guy. Yep. That's how he made his bones in this business. He often handled the entire broadcast by himself.
That's right.
Look at the champ. Majestic. He walks into the ring and he described everything.
Look at him walking to the ring. He's stepping in there, bouncing
He is
around,
the picture of confidence.
He's looking great.
Yep.
Like
that's what made Howard great, guys. And we need that in boxing. Once again, the matchups are great. We need the matchups to shine. And who better to make them sparkle than the big name commentators? Yeah. That's a huge part of perception, guys.
That's a topic to have up there for the rest of the week. I'm gonna see if I could post that around social media. Like, what announcer out there right now would you like to have on these big boxing events or whatever it is? Like, it doesn't, like, not a guy that's in boxing right now. I'm talking about someone that's outside of boxing that you will want to commentate in these boxing things here. So that would be
that's it. That's it.
And last joint on here, man, he says Joe Tessitore got a good voice for the host position, but not the blow-by-blow guy. Hey,
that's it. That's it. Look. Joe Tessitore will forever have the affiliation and connotation, the perception of Friday Night Fights, a lesser event. It's hard to get up for a Joe Tessitore called fight. Am I wrong, guys? No, I don't think I am.
Nope.
He's not synonymous with big-time boxing.
Nope.
Let's start anew. Let's get a new voice for big-time boxing, someone who is affiliated with big-time sports. I'm not wrong in this, James.
Yeah, like, put up the money for it. Like, you want to have something there, put up the money for it. Like, I think come on, Tim.
See, why can't we see? Look. Oh, Chingao. Brian Kenny can, dude. Let me tell you, the Mexican's gonna come out of me now. Brian Kenny can suck my big chilon, dude. Chingao, dude. Dude, Brian Kenny sucks ass. Dude, the last thing we need is a commentator arguing with the pros, right? He is the absolute worst. Can you imagine Brian Kenny arguing with Lennox Lewis, arguing with Joe Goosen? That's why he lost his job at BBC.
Yeah,
he sucks ass.
Yeah, he was just not good at all. So nah.
Either get busy living or get busy dying. Yeah. That's damn right.
So this is going for about almost 2 hours. 2 hours here on the midweek.
And
report.
You know what, James? And we want to thank you for providing this platform. It's been enlightening, brother. thank you for the conversation, my friend. Thank you for always being the gracious host. Here's a shot to you, brother. We love you, man. We love you, Big JR. And we look forward to you co-hosting the big announcement on the Ronnie Shields Show next Tuesday, sir.
Yeah,
Here's to
y'all look forward to Real Boxing with Ronnie Shields on the Warweek Radio Network next Tuesday night. As I will be back on there co-hosting there with Brother Joseph Herod of the Warweek Radio Network. And of course, we will have our next edition of the Boxing Source Radio Show coming up on Sunday evening, scheduled for Sunday evening. We will, talk about, what happened over in Toledo, Ohio, specifically with those two heavyweight fights, the co-feature bout with Arslan Bekmambetov, and then, of course, the main event, Jared Anderson versus Charles Martin. So we're going to break that down as much as possible, and I look forward to, seeing y'all there on the Boxing Source YouTube channel. Big thanks for everyone that has joined in live. Here watching. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button for this if you like the content. And if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button here for more boxing content. Big thanks to Joseph Herron of Warweek Radio Network for joining in. Big thanks to Bruce Gas Boxing Jazz.
Bruce!
In here on this particular edition of the Midweek Report. And with that being said, here on Wednesday, June 28th, I bid y'all adieu. Have a good evening, everybody.
Brian Kenny Chingao.